How many times do you sit down to work on your business, but within a few minutes you end up scrolling your phone, you end up binge watching some YouTube videos, or just doing anything but the work you have to do? Sometimes you can arm wrestle your way into doing a tiny bit of work, but after a few minutes you end up checking your phone, looking at some notifications, responding to some messages. Gritting your teeth and relying on willpower is an uphill battle. If you've got big goals, then big goals require consistent action. And the only thing that's guaranteed from using willpower is that you're going to be inconsistent. Here are the 3 things that you can do to regain your focus without requiring willpower. First thing we can do is we can increase our dopamine levels. If you're someone who sits down to do work, but you hate the work you do, it's going to be pretty hard to do. It's going to be a massive uphill battle. And a lot of this comes from the fact that you don't necessarily hate the work you do, but your brain has incredibly low dopamine levels. The reason this happens is most likely because you're providing your brain with a huge amount of dopamine on a day-to-day basis. If you're waking up in the morning instantly pulling out your phone and scrolling, at breakfast you're watching some sort of videos, you always have music in your ears, you're watching a bunch of TV shows, you're probably playing a bunch of video games, you're doing a lot of things that are providing your brain with a huge amount of dopamine, a huge amount of stimulation. And if you're providing yourself with all of this dopamine, then your brain realizes, this person's receiving way too much dopamine. Let me bring their dopamine levels down for everything so that they're just normal. They're operating at a normal level. But what happens is that your brain brings your dopamine levels down for everything, okay? So your work you're doing is now less enjoyable. Your workouts you do are less enjoyable. Spending time with your friends and family, less enjoyable. Going for a walk, less enjoyable. Everything is less enjoyable. And if everything is less enjoyable, everything is more difficult. If you hate your work, you're not going to do your work. So, how do we increase our dopamine levels? Well, pretty simply, we have to remove the things that are providing a huge amount of dopamine but are in no way moving us towards our goals. Because if we flip this situation and we say, you're now no longer receiving dopamine from scrolling your phone or from playing video games or from watching TV shows or any of these things, then your brain goes, oh, this person has quite low dopamine levels. Let me bring them up for everything. For everything. What does that mean? That means your work is more enjoyable. That means working out is more enjoyable. That means spending time with friends and family is more enjoyable. That means the walk is more enjoyable. Everything is now more enjoyable. And if everything is more enjoyable, then everything is easier. If you've now made it so that your work actually feels pretty good, you're going to be much more likely to do it. A lot of the time, the reason that you sit down to work and you end up on YouTube, or you sit down for work and you end up scrolling your phone, is because your brain subconsciously knows, why would I do this work? This work is hard and this work doesn't feel as good as sitting and scrolling my phone, sitting here and watching YouTube videos. These things not only feel better, but they're easier. Why on earth would I work? Why on earth would I do anything that's difficult if it doesn't feel as good as this really easy thing that I'm doing all the time? Now, this is fundamentally the number one thing that you can do to improve your focus. Because if the work is really enjoyable, if you don't have the option to do these really easy things, it's going to be very easy for you to lock in and focus. If you don't have the option to be scrolling your phone, you don't have the option to be binge watching TV shows, you don't have the option to be playing video games, the most enjoyable thing that you can be doing is working. What are you going to want to do? You're going to want to do that enjoyable thing. We call this dopamine rewiring, and I've allocated a huge amount of my YouTube channel to it, so you're going to find a lot more videos there, and you can also check it out in my Modern Monk community. But that is absolutely the number one thing that we can be doing. The second thing is creating a super low friction environment. If you're someone who has an environment that makes it really difficult to do things that you're supposed to do and really easy to do things that you don't want to do, then you're going to do the things that you don't want to do. I'll give you a perfect example of this. On my phone, I don't have notifications, I don't have a home screen, and I don't even have color on my phone. Now, why would I do these 3 things? The reason I do this is, A, my phone isn't yelling at me, telling me where to go, telling me where to put my attention. B, when I go on my phone, there's not 50 billboards telling me to check TikTok, telling me to check Clash of Clans, telling me to check Instagram. I don't have any billboards telling me where to go. And C, if I were to go on any of those apps, then they're not as interesting. They're not as entertaining because it's all in black and white. It's less flashy. It's less enjoyable. If I go on my phone, it's very hard for me to end up on Instagram or on TikTok or on Clash of Clans because A, they're not even on my phone, but B, they're not there staring me right in the face. It's very high friction for me to do something that I don't want to do on my phone. If you're sitting at your desk and your phone isn't yelling at you telling you what to do, you can't access any garbage websites you don't want to be accessing, there's nothing on your laptop, there's nothing in your environment that is telling you to do anything but the work that you need to do, very easy to get work done. Very low friction environment to do the work. High friction to do other stuff. High friction to get distracted, but very low friction to get work done. Think about your environment. Think about how can I make it as easy as possible to do the things that I want to do, and how can I make it as difficult as possible to do the things that I don't want to do. Third thing is isolating your attention. If you've got big goals, if you've got a business that you're trying to grow, if you're trying to work on your health, if you're trying to work on your relationships, whatever it is, you've got big goals, okay? You need to be able to focus on that one task. You need to be able to allocate your attention to that. Think about your attention like this. You have two possibilities, okay? This is you. Both situations are you. The first one, you're constantly thinking about what's going on in social media. You're constantly thinking about what's going on in these video games, what's going on in politics, what's going on in all of these group chats, what's going on with people that I used to see back in high school, what's going on with all of these things, what's going on with the sports team I follow. This is your attention, diluted in 50 different ways, okay? Very hard for you to think about one thing. What if I cut out the social media, okay? What if I cut out the politics? What if I cut out the video games? What if I cut out all of this nonsense that is in no way moving me towards my goals? Well, what you might end up with is something like this. Focusing on my business here, focusing on my health here, focusing on my relationships here, okay? Think about how much more potent you are. Your attention is isolated on a few things that are your key goals, right? These are the things that genuinely matter to you. Rather than being focused on 50 different things, you're focused on the things that genuinely matter. Two situations. One person sits down to work and they also have a little thing that they're thinking about, which is what's happening in all my group chats. And they're thinking about what's happening with politics. They're thinking about what's going on with current affairs. They're thinking about what's going on with my sports team. How is that war going on the other side of the world? They're sitting down and they have all this anxiety and their attention split in 50 different directions. How effective is that person at doing anything? They're quite diluted. Person two, this person has three things they care about, the things that actually matter to them. How is this person's focus? Who do you think is going to be more focused in these two situations? Who do you think is more likely to be pulling out their phone and scrolling group chats? Who do you think is going to be more likely to end up binge watching a bunch of YouTube videos? I think you know the answer to this one. Isolating your attention on the things that actually matter is going to be very beneficial. Increasing your dopamine levels, creating a low friction environment, and isolating your attention, they all come from removing online entertainment. All of these things, the three best things that you can possibly do to improve your focus without requiring willpower, all stem from just removing the online entertainment. Because when you remove the online entertainment, you're going to have higher dopamine levels, you're going to enjoy doing the work more. You now no longer have all of these distractions, so you have a very low friction environment to do the work, and you've isolated your attention purely on the things that genuinely matter, rather than 50 things that in no way impact your life and in no way can you actually change. So there you go. Let's start removing the online entertainment. All of this improvement in focus is going to come downstream of that. If you want to learn how to dopamine rewire to remove this online entertainment, then you can join my Modern Monk community, which is completely free. We'll take you on, we'll create a custom dopamine rewiring roadmap for you and run through it all for you 100% for free. If you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description below. If you like the video, I have way more videos about dopamine rewiring on my channel, which you can check out. Probably one of them is somewhere around here. So if you like the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in one of these.